right, welcome back to ATOG City Limits. This is Aaron and Sarah Lynn in the booth, and we are watching, continuing our coverage of the Tainted Pact deck, running through its paces, and we know it's facing off on Belcher. So, Aaron, give us a quick intro to the Belcher deck for those who might not be especially familiar with this legacy staple.
So, Belcher's a deck that you really only see in Legacy. It plays a single land. And it plays the card Goblin Charbelcher, which is a 4-mana artifact. You pay 3 to activate it, and then you reveal cards from the top of your library until you hit a land. Mm-hmm. And that deals damage equal to the number of cards you have revealed, unless you've revealed a mountain, in which case it does twice as much damage. Mm-hmm. And so, to exploit this fact, the deck plays a single land, so that basically every Charbelcher activation is lethal.
So it looks like I would suspect, if I'm on Austin's side, he played the drop line, the Pithy Needle naming Charbelcher. So can Quinn win from here?
Yes, he can. So in the main deck, he has 3 Empty the Warrens, Storm card, 3 and a red. Mm-hmm. Make 2 goblins for every spell you've played this turn, basically. And then he has 4 Burning Wish as well to fetch
to fetch that card from the sideboard.
To fetch Empty the Warrens from the sideboard. And it looks like he's going off here.
Storm is 2. 3. Looks like Austin's being the most gracious of opponents in keeping track. So it looks like he cracked the Lotus Petal for green to get a card called
Tinderwall.
Thank you. And what does that card do?
0/3 wall. Basically in this deck, you can sacrifice it to add 2 red mana into your mana pool. So It's a kind of mini ritual.
Okay, and we have 3 red floating. Up to 4 red, I assume, by exiling that Singing Spirit Guide. Is that right?
Yep, I would assume so. Manamorphose, I think, just to up the storm count at this point.
Mm-hmm. So you're probably adding red, would you say?
Yeah, maybe green. Well, it depends on if he's going to get fancy with the wish board. I imagine he's just going to empty the Warrens for a bunch of goblins here.
Sure, give them the Pithy Needles on Charbelcher.
If he can get up to 9 storm, though, he could Tendrils of Agony here, so maybe he made black. I'm not sure. Alternatively, he can crack that LED for black with the Burning Wish on the stack.
Alright, so Austin's going to reveal a hand off a Gataxian Probe, and we see, looks like a Tainted Pack, a Bajuka Bog, a Snapcaster, a Crop Rotation. Preordained, yeah, thank you for that. Okay, none of these
that sucks. Yeah, he draws the Belcher, but
is there only 1 Charbelcher in the deck?
Yes. Okay. Or there are 4 Charbelchers in the deck. I mean, he drew 1 and it's Pithy Needled, so it doesn't do anything. So he's consulting the sideboard now, it looks like,
to figure out what he can do with these 4 mana and Storm at 6. Well, the good news is, I guess from Quinn's perspective, is that there is nothing he needs to worry about in terms of interaction at the moment, right?
No.
If he's going to be making a lot of goblins, I suppose Austin could Toxic Deluge.
Mm-hmm. That is definitely an out. You need to draw
a lot.
Toxic Deluge, pretty much.
Right.
At this point, I think he has Golgari Charm in the sideboard. That wouldn't come into play in game 1. Mm-hmm. So I wonder, Austin has told me previously that he almost always goes for the Wheel of Fortune effect here just to try and up the storm count. So I wonder if we'll see him make a bunch of goblins or if we'll see him go for something like Reforge the Soul.
Or you mean Quinn?
Or sorry, Quinn, rather, yeah.
Okay, so Burning Wish, Storm is up to 7. And he's going to crack the LED with the Burning Wish on the stack. Grabbing a...
Yep, it looks like he is going to go for the Diminishing Returns.
And remind me what this does?
So...
We got a reader!
If I remember correctly, each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just him. And then the player who casts Diminishing Returns exiles the top 10 cards, and then each player draws another 7.
So as you said, Wheel of Fortune is a great analogy there. See what happens. Yeah, looks like they're both shuffling.
Yeah, I think it's only the player who casts the Diminishing Returns exiles the top 10.
I see. My goodness, what an exciting and commonly played Magic card.
Yep. Basically only seen in this deck in Legacy.
Mm-hmm. Well, so if you're Quinn in this spot, how are you feeling about his position?
I think you're just hoping to luck out here and
what are you looking to luck into?
Mana and another Burning Wish, so that you can Burning Wish for Tendrils and just have a clean kill here. Although this is a little bit risky because we saw Austin's hand rather, and he had no way of properly interacting on the current turn with Austin, and by making making Austin draw another 7 cards, he could draw him into a Force of Will, for example. I think maybe only Force of Will in this spot.
That's true, yeah, because at this point, most of the cards he's going to get are going to be... Ooh.
Feeling the grip. Oh, yeah, these are the exiled cards.
These are the exiled 10, I believe.
Yep.
Looks like I saw at least one Empty the Warrens, a bunch of mana sources, which, as you explained, were some of the things that Quinn was looking for.
Yeah, I think excellent mana sources isn't a big deal because Belcher is basically a deck composed of 11 win cons and 49 mana sources. So the mana sources are pretty trivial. He's hoping, I think, to hit a Burning Wish here. And
I see a Lotus Petal.
Whiffed. Yeah, he's got the mana. It doesn't look like he has a win con. So it looks like he's going to use this Gitaxian Probe and knock the top of the deck and hope he finds something.
And plays down to 16 here. Double Tainted Pact, it looks like.
And that Disrupt should be useful if Austin gets out of this turn alive, which it looks like he might.
I don't really see how, personally, I'm not quite understanding how Quinn would be able to put together a kill on exactly this turn.
So he had, two mana floating, I think?
One, it looks like.
And so, yeah, I think if he had drawn some more mana and a Burning Wish, he could have made mana and Burning Wished for the Tendrils of Agony and killed that way.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like he basically just drew mana plus that Gitaxian Probe, and so it looks like he's going to have to pass the turn.
Wow, well that was an exciting turn one of Magic. I guess the good news is Quinn's not down a whole lot, and it seems like if he draws a enabler in any way other than just mana sources, he has a possibility of going off again relatively soon. So, okay, we're back over to Austin, and we recall that we saw a Disrupt, which could be useful. All right, plays a Watery Grave untapped. And you'll recall that if you watch the deck tech, then Austin's deck, this isn't a budget choice. This is actually very deliberate because of the singleton nature of Tainted Pact. You want to make sure you have as many cards with different names as possible. So doing the classic modern shock, perhaps if we get lucky, Austin will play a Death Shadow. Who knows? Who knows?
That's true. I imagine he's setting up here for an end of turn Tainted Pact just to find some more counter magic. Or maybe a threat.
Just main phase in that Tainted Pact.
Well, I think Quinn passed.
Oh, I see. So this is on Quinn's end step.
Do you remember what all was in Austin's hand other than the Disrupt? I think there was a Gitaxian Probe and some other stuff.
There was an extra Tainted. I think there were 2 Tainted Packs.
Oh, him to Torok, that's kind of tempting.
Disrupt, yeah. Him seems... I would consider stopping on that him. But, if Quinn's hand is replaceable, as you indicated it was...
Yeah, if I'm Austin, I would imagine Quinn's hand is just 7 mana sources and no
off we go.
action.
Spell Snare, Marsh Flats. From the outside, we might actually just want land at this point. Crop Rot, Tundra, Thoughtseize.
Thoughtseize could be good. Just to get some information so you know what the choke point is.
Mm-hmm. And we do know that looks like that is where Austin's going to stop the Tainted Pact.
Yeah, when to fire off that Disrupt.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, that's a great point. I think, getting moved up to Pride of Place indicated its importance in this particular matchup by shutting off one full angle of attack.
Seems like it's been very clutch in this matchup.
All right, get Pro, both players at 16.
Looks like we have Rite of Flame, 2 Seething Songs, LED, Lotus Petal, and Land Grant.
What does Land Grant do?
So it normally costs 1 in a green.
Mm-hmm.
If you have no lands in hand, you can reveal your hand and search your library for a forest. Not just a basic forest, so dual lands would count in this case. I think Quinn has foil Stomping Ground,
Whew.
maybe.
Bringing the bling.
Exactly. And so this is a way you can get away with playing only one land in your deck. So you're essentially playing 5.
Mm-hmm.
Very bad in multiples, though, because it only
essentially works once.
Yeah, it basically reads add 1 to the storm count at that point without actually having any effect.
Yeah, so classic piece of wisdom regarding beating combo decks, particularly storms, that you need both disruption and a clock. Mm-hmm. So it looks like Austin's going to be digging for that clock. Starts off with a ponder. And Austin has, I guess, like 9 creatures that really matter. Because the singleton deck again, it's not going to be chock full of duplicates. Looks like he capped off that ponder, took a draw.
Yeah, very quickly drawing that land there.
Mm-hmm. And we got a pass. Back over to Quinn, who's gonna...
Looks like a Gitaxian probe from Quinn. Sorry. Mm-hmm. I keep getting them confused, even though I said I never get them confused.
It's okay. At least you're admitting your mistakes. You're owning up to them.
Now that's a little cheeky from Quinn, bringing out the storm dice.
Ooh, yeah, it's like on Magic Online, where he's always like, Storm Crown 1, you're like, thank you, that remains sort of relevant. Okay, so we've got a Strix, which is not great here as...
Oh, there's a Burning Wish.
Is that a true name? No, is that a preordain?
I think it's a preordain. I didn't get a great look.
I was going to play face up.
Strix, Tainted Pact, Abrupt Decay, yeah, you're right, true name. The Thoughtseize we saw, the Disrupt, and I can't make out what's between the Baleful Strix and the Tainted Pact.
Yeah, it's hard to see. It kind of looks almost like a Dark Petition or something. Alright, oops. Quinn is indeed going off. The storm count is up to 4.
Yeah, I think looks like he's gonna try and power through this,
the Disrupt,
because this is the 4 spike, so if he can make enough mana...
That it's irrelevant. Alright, we got some considerations.
Yeah, I think he might actually be able to power through the Disrupt here. Because this land grant is... Oh.
Ooh. So decay on the LED, and usually this is not considered an optimal move. However, if you can force your opponent to break it, as in discard their hand and sacrifice 3 mana at a less than optimal time, it can be a useful move.
Yeah. I think it won't matter because of the 2 Seething Songs. I think Quinn will end up with enough mana, but yeah, that's really tight play from Austin there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Quinn indicating that it is a stomping ground. He is shocking.
And do you know if that's a particular reason it's a stomping ground as opposed to a taiga, or if it's...
It's a somewhat of a budget consideration.
I see.
It
is foil, though.
That's true. I still think it might be a little cheaper than the taiga. I think 1 out of every 100 games the 2 life will matter, but not often enough that to make the investment worth it.
They're functional.
If you don't already own a taiga. And some Belcher players like to style on people with, foil Russian stomping grounds just to say, like...
Look what I can do.
Yeah, I have the budget version, but I have a really nice budget version.
I enjoy that.
For the rub-ins.
Alright, so it looks like, as you pointed out, the Seething Song and Friends is going to give Quinn plenty of mana. A Seething Song and a Rite of Flame.
Rite of Flame, yeah. So it's 3, 4 mana, 6, 8. He's going to have 8. So he could theoretically Burning Wish for Reforge the Soul, the other Wheel of Fortune effect in his sideboard.
Oh, okay.
That didn't really work out particularly well last time he tried it, so I wonder if he's just going to go for empty here, or if he's just going to go for the Reforge plan again.
Honestly, the empty seems like the safer line to me, because the only out that I remember Austin having main board for that would be specifically Toxic Deluge, and I'm not seeing a lot of cantrips, right?
No, just the Preordain.
Yeah, and that's And I guess technically the Baleful Strix, if we really want to be precise about it.
Oh, actually, no, because Quinn doesn't have red or black mana, 2 black mana.
Oh,
the
two.
storm
Go
would
for
be lethal
tendrils.
here for tendrils.
However, we only have single black mana.
Yeah, so it turns out actually that Abrupt Decay, that LED, which could have provided the missing black mana, actually was really crucial here to keep
for
from
just
straight
straight
up
up dying on the
dying.
spot.
So this will give
heads up play.
Austin a couple more draw steps to.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, one more draw step, basically.
But hey, sometimes that's all you can really hope for.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like the way this is going, if we can rip Precisely Toxic Deluge, then I think the game's pretty much over at that point. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, Quinn will have used his entire hand to make these. What is this going to be? 18 goblins.
Yeah.
Oh, he's thinking about going for Reforge the Soul.
Ooh, the bravery.
He's thinking about it. I'm not sure if that's a good idea because he's Burning Wish exiles itself upon resolution, so he's only going to have 2 more. Oh, he's going for it.
Whoa! All right, now remind us what this card does.
So again, each player shuffles their.
It's the exact same.
Each player discards their hand to draw 7.
Okay.
So yeah, Austin's gonna get a whole new hand, maybe get a Force of Will for any Burning Wishes.
It's actually, if we survive this turn from Austin's perspective, this is actually kind of great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess we lost our true name, which kind of bummer, but we do have a reanimate.
That's true. It looks like Queen did find one of the 2 remaining Burning Wishes in his library. So
hey, you don't play decks like this to not go for it, as they say.
No.
Extra LED storms up to 10.
And here Tendrils is super lethal, but I think...
Is it still choked on black mana?
He's still choked on black mana because I think he's going to have to use one of these LEDs to make red mana to pay for the Burning Wish.
Eek.
Eek indeed. I mean, so he's just going to make an insanely lethal amount of goblins here.
Right.
Because he's out of Wheel of Fortune effects, finally, I think. I don't think he has any more. I mean,
Alright, get some mana.
I don't think he has 2 copies of Diminishing Returns or of Reforge the Soul.
Probably not now. That's pretty common in a wish board to only have singletons, yes?
Exactly, yeah. Days Undoing would be really bad here because it ends the turn.
Empty the stack. Alright, so then we're going to go up to 4 mana with that additional Rite of Flame. Storm is 11. Alright, Storm up to 12. And we're going to add an additional 3 mana.
This is the 3rd Rite of Flame,
I believe it is, yeah.
So this would be 4 mana. It's 2 plus the number of Rite of Flames in the graveyard.
So we got infinite red mana, but as you point out, we're a little choked if we had the lethal... We're a little choked on black mana for a lethal Tendrils of Agony. Okay, the goblin beats are still occurring. I guess he's trying to maybe get enough goblins in this turn to one-shot Austin, which makes a lot of sense.
Wait, I think those are 2 Burning Wishes, right?
There's 2 Burning Wishes in his hand?
Oh, well, he doesn't have enough mana just yet. So he's got 8 mana, so...
Well, after that, I think he's going to go down to 7.
Well, he also has the...
you were correct, the Lotus Petal. Mm-hmm.
Or actually, yeah, he's got 7. No, I think he still wins here because he can Burning Wish for empty. Mm-hmm. Empty for... What is this? 26, 28 goblins, and then he can Burning Wish for Goblin War Strike.
That's so exciting! And Goblin War Strike does what?
Deals 1 damage to target player, I believe. I'm not sure if it can target creatures as well for each goblin you control.
And how much does it cost?
1 red. So yeah, I think we're going to see a Goblin War Strike here.
Oh, this is very exciting. If you're on Team Belcher. Mm-hmm. Which, spoiler alert to our viewers at home, Aaron is decidedly on Team Belcher.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Quinn's giving us a show here.
Do you still agree with... I know we might be suffering from hindsight bias, but do you think it was still correct to go for that Reforge the Soul line, or would you have just gone for the regular Gobos? Worked out really well.
It did end up working out really well. I think the problem is, though, it could have gone like the Diminishing Returns turn, and he just ends up with a handful of mana. And yep, there it is, the Goblin War Strike, and
that's going to be uber lethal.
Oh, he had a Flusterstorm, but he didn't have any mana. That would have been hilarious.
That would have been brutal.
Yeah, that's the
Enjoy
risk
your-
of playing these Wheel of Fortune effects. Just throwing your opponent into interaction.
So what would happen if Austin had Flusterstormed the Empty the Warrens?
Quinn would get very sad.
He still had a lot of mana left over.
I mean, he could... I think he had 4 mana, so he could pay for 4 copies of the Flusterstorm.
That's a decent amount of gobos.
And make like 8 goblins.
Which is something. That would have been 2-turn clock.
Yeah, absolutely.
If Austin had, again, literal nothing. Okay, well, that was quite the game one.
Yeah, absolutely. Quinn here taking out the cards that he had wished for. You always want to do that in between rounds.
Yeah.
Otherwise, when you go to wish for them, they won't be there, and you will be very sad.
Yeah, some players who play wish boards, and again, we're referring to decks that utilize cards such as Burning Wish, Living Wish, etc., to wish for silver bullets out of their sideboard to protect them from any sort of main deck disruption. Sometimes decks with those features use different sleeves for the back of those cards, so they stand out extra well.
Yeah, but as I recently learned at competitive REL, actually, that is frowned upon.
Oh,
You're right, impermissible. And that you could get in trouble for having marked cards once the cards you wish for in your graveyard.
Oh, interesting. That's good.
Which is weird. I should double check that. I didn't ask a judge. Someone just told me that's a no-no.
Interesting. Well, also, I've been told it's a no-no to have a sideboard guide where that is 1,000% permissible as long as you don't consult it during the match.
Told that many, many times. People freak out when you bring out the sideboard guide.
No, tomorrow. Like, Or, all right. So going into board, let's think about what cards that we saw in the deck tech, or that maybe you saw it in Austin's sideboard that he might bring in, and if there's anything in Quinn's sideboard that he actually would bring in, or for they would stick out, that they would remain hanging out in the sideboard.
So from Austin's side, I think he's going to bring in some more sweepers to just clean up the goblin tokens. So the Golgari Charm, I think, for sure. Probably Engineered Plague.
Yeah.
Some of his white sideboard cards. He's on the White Splash today.
Yeah, I saw a Rest in Peace for sure and a Containment Priest in the board.
Was there an Aethersworn Canonist?
There was.
That would be very good here. Some other counter magic if he has that.
Invasive Surgery was the main.
Invasive Surgery is very good to hit the Burning Wishes.
Great, yeah.
He has the Flusterstorm main. He has the Force of Will main.
And, friends like Disrupt, Miscalculation, Spell Snare.
Does he have any extra discard in the sideboard? I don't think so. I think he's got all the most useful discard spells in the main deck. Sorcerer's Spyglass in the sideboard?
That's correct.
Yes,
and a Piggy Needle main. And he's a Nihil Spellbomb main.
Yeah, I think the Nihil Spellbomb comes out here. If he has room. Quinn just doesn't use his graveyard at all.
Yeah, I guess the only thing that really I saw that was at all relevant with Ride of Flame, that was a relatively minor inclusion here.
I mean, if he doesn't have a whole lot of cards to board out, or to bring in the matchup, I could see him leaving it in just because it cycles. Taking out some of his one-shot creature kills, so like Innocent Blood seems really bad in this matchup.
Yeah.
What else? I think that's about it, maybe on Austin's side. On Quinn's side, I think he's going to bring in some of the anti-blue cards, some of the anti-counterspell stuff, so Guttural Response, the hybrid red-green counter-target blue instant.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Is that from a Ravnica block?
No, I think it's from one of the lore wins.
Oh, interesting.
The flavor text mentions Wart, the Raid Mother, and her Raiding Bellow.
Is Charbelcher from Lord Block as well?
I think Charbelcher's from Mirrodin.
Oh, I see. All right. So you said bringing in some of the anti-blue cards.
Yeah, what Quinn calls the Belcher Force of Will, because you can play it off of either a Simian Spirit Guide or an Elder Spirit Guide, so it's kind of like Force of Will.
Oh, that's wonderful.
In that regard. Although, I'm not sure because Austin's deck really only plays the one Force of Will because of the deck construction restrictions imposed by Tainted Pact. And so he really only has the one Force of Will in terms of interaction, but I'm not sure if Quinn wants to go all in, go all 4 copies of the Guttural Response, or not.
That's true. I mean, it seems like that's the main way, though, that Austin has of interacting with him. And...
Yeah. Or if Quinn just wants to go YOLO and hope Austin doesn't have the Force of Will in his opener.
Yeah, absolutely. So, looks like Quinn's sending his 7 back looking for 6. How well, in your experience, would you say that Belcher and Mulligans?
Not particularly well of these all-in combo decks. It needs a relatively high amount of mana to go off. So 7 mana to play and activate the Belcher. And sometimes just getting the Belcher down on turn 1 through counter magic is good enough, and then eventually you come up with the 3 mana to activate it. But yeah, you need between 4 and 7, and sometimes even more for something elaborate like we saw in Game 1.
So for that reason, you want to try to conserve your resources and try to keep as many cards as you can. Because you said a lot of decks are interchangeable. All right, looks like we're going to get a Keeper-Rooney on Quinn's side and Scry to the top.
Yeah, it looks like he's scratching LED to the top.
Excellent. Okay, and off we go. So that's going to have Austin starting us off with a Polluted Delta, and just a pass here. That LED is going to reappear into Quinn's hand. Going to start off by instantly deploying it, followed by a second LED. Storm is 2. Is it time to get out the Storm counter?
It looks like he...
Oh, yep, there we go.
Yep, there we go. So it looks like he has Burning Wish, Seething Song, Wish Spirit Guide, Simeon Spirit Guide. Yep, Burning Wish. Crack both of those LEDs.
Storm is up to 3. And we have, what kind of mana would you say floating?
Oh, Mindbreak Trap.
No.
Okay, yeah, that's an instant concession. I mean, yeah.
So what does Mindbreak Trap do?
So it exiles any number of spells for blue 2. And if your opponent has played 3 or more spells this turn, you can pay it without playing its mana cost.
Eek. And that's an important card that we neglected to mention from Austin's sideboard. The only card that has 2 in the sideboard is Mindbreak Trap.
Interesting. Yeah, that would make sense. It seems like some of these really fast combo decks might be tricky if you're not playing 4 Force of Will.
Exactly, yeah. And he mentioned specifically that the only non-singleton cards in Austin's list are the 3 Tainted Packs in the main and the 2 Mindbreak Traps on the board, because, as you point out, when you're looking for Mindbreak Trap with Tainted Pact, you're just gonna stop when you see it.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense.
Mindbreak Trap has a little bit of some lore in our local Legacy meta, because when I knew I was playing against when I knew there was a strong possibility I'd be paired against someone playing Storm, I was playing Burn, but having been duly forewarned, I did have many Mindbreak Traps in the sideboard.
I think you had the full playset.
I sure did.
I was able to ruin that player's life.
Oh, I sure did. And I laughed very loudly while doing so, because I'm a kind and generous human.
And wasn't it also the case that he went off so early that he thought maybe he had gotten under something like Eidolon of the Great Revel or Pyrostatic Pillar?
Of course it is.
Yeah, he was going off on turn 1 or turn 2 on the play.
Punishing that hubris. I think I had 2 Mindbreak Traps in hand, too.
Yeah, it sounds like he was squeezed between a rock and a hard place.
Or could you say he was trapped?
Yes.
So it looks like Quinn's happy with his 7. Austin investigating his. I don't really see a lot of cards that are useful. It looks like
There's a Tainted Pack, Engineered Plague, some lands, a Ponder, Crocus, Preordain. Or no, is that Preordain or Flusterstorm?
Hard to tell. No, that's definitely a watery grave he just showed us. We got some thinking to do.
I think that is a Flusterstorm.
Nice.
Yeah, it's definitely a Flusterstorm.
Okay, so if you are... Alright, let's say you're... Oh, gonna send it back. Let's say you're on Quinn's side here. Other than Mindbreak Trap, what are the cards you don't want Austin to have in his opening hand?
Force of Will.
A 4 specifically, like a Burning Wish or a Charbelcher?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't play particularly well against a Storm card like Empty the Warrens. You can counter one copy, but the other copies will resolve.
As many people have learned the hard way.
Yeah, so sort of the rule of thumb for those of you out there who find yourself playing against Belcher, and you have a Force of Will, you usually want to Force of Will the card that will give them 4 mana, because that's the next card could be an Empty of the Warrens as opposed to Charbelcher or Burning Wish.
And you mean, in this case, not one card necessarily generates 4 mana, but the card which will put them up to 4 mana
exactly.
in the mana pool after it resolves. Okay. 'Cause 4 is kind of the magic number on the Belcher side.
Mm-hmm. That's when they could start emptying the Warrens, and that's when your Force of Wills become less useful.
Like, counter 1 copy of the spell.
And we see Austin mulliganing here despite having the Flusterstorm because he is on the draw. And he cannot Flusterstorm when he is on the draw. If Quinn goes off turn 1.
You know, if Wizards ever answers our prayers and prints Spirit Guides in other colors,
yes, the Blue Spirit Guide.
One day.
I feel like the Blue Spirit Guide would probably break the format in half, though.
It's like kind of like Mental Misstep if you think about it.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, because it like lets you just like.
Yeah, just have that 1 mana available.
I mean, it basically just turns all the blue 1 mana instants into Force of Will type effects, right? So it's like Brainstorm with no mana up, or like Spell Pierce or Flusterstorm.
We were discussing, it looks like Austin's going to keep Scrying on top. Oh, and off we go. Oh, alright. We already got the Storm counter going with the Lotus Petal and the Tinderwall and an LED. Storm is up to 3. And we got a...
Pyretic Ritual.
Yep, so Storm's up to 4. 5. We have what? 5 and 5 mana floating? 5 red floating?
5 red floating, 5 Storm. Yep.
Eek.
What is Quinn's last card, do you think?
I mean, Burning Wish, maybe? I don't know. Because we have plenty of mana with the LED.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be one of his win cons, otherwise he wouldn't be playing out his hand here.
Yeah.
He's got 2... Okay, so he looks like he's got Belcher and Empty the Warrens. He's going to go for the Belcher. He's going to have 1 red floating.
Yep, and of course the virtual mana from the LED. Oh,
Resolves.
It's good.
Yep. Crack this. So the only way that Austin stays alive here is if the Taiga is in the top 9 cards of the library.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's stomping grounds. 8, 9, 10.
Okay, yeah, he's dead.
Alright, and this is trivial at this point.
There it is, okay. Yep.
Alright.
There's a lethal Charbelcher activation.
And it looks like, what did Austin keep that hand on?
Reanimate Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Invasive Surgery?
Deathrite Invasive Surgery.
Yeah, it was also on the board. Okay.
Oh, there's a Maelstrom Pulse. That's another good answer for the Goblins.
An excellent point. That is also on the board. Alright, well...
Yeah, Quinn and Austin are good friends, so I think Quinn had a little bit of an advantage here, knowing I think that Austin had more answers to the Goblin tokens than to the Charbelcher.
Absolutely. To be fair, though, we of course saw in Game 1, pipping Needle Name Charbelcher match or Game 1 is not exactly a well-worn legacy play.
Yes, exactly.
Alright, so it looks like, as we were discussing earlier, the board that Austin put together was Aethersworn, Canonist, 2 Mindbraid Traps, Sorcerer's Spyglass, Engineered Plague, Golgari Charm, and I think that Maelstrom Pulse too. And it looks like on Quinn's side, we have that Guttural Response, correct?
Yep.
What are some of those other cards?
Looks like Carpet of Flowers.
Which is?
So it's an enchantment. It's worded a little strangely. So it's, I believe the Oracle text is during, you choose one of your main phases, and on that main phase you get X mana in any one color, where X is the number of islands your opponent controls. Not just basic islands, so dual lands like Tropical Island, Volcanic Island, etc.
It's going to be a real backbreaker for blue decks.
Yeah, it's really good. Allows these combo decks to play through taxing counters pretty well, and sometimes just accelerate out of the gates.
Okay. And it looks like he boarded out some more of those fast mana sources. The Manamorphoses, a Seething Song, a Pyretic Ritual, and a Land Grant. What are those two cards between the Carpet of Flowers and Guttural Response? Can you
I
recognize
think
them?
those are more guttural responses.
More guttural
I think it's
responses,
just 3
excellent.
guttural responses
Sure.
to Carpet of Flowers. And Quinn was telling me that in Belcher theory, you don't really want to board too heavily to dilute the combo and draw reactive cards when you want either mana or business spells. And so usually you want to board in about five cards.
At a maximum.
Maximum.
I see.
Which is fairly easy to do because most of your sideboard is wish targets anyway.
Well, great. So I suspect we're either going to see Tainted Pact versus Eldrazi Post, my specialty, or Imperial Painter. And we will be right back with the next match.